Hello and welcome back to the Choose UCalgary podcast. I'm your host, Virginia Harvey, and today I have Garrett and Taegen joining me to discuss international student services at the University of Calgary. Thank you both for being here today.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
I'm excited to have you on today. Could you please both give a little introduction of yourselves and your roles with ISS?
Yeah, for sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Garrett Beatty. I am one of the advisors in the International Student Services Office. I coordinate a number of our programs, including a lot of our social programming, our UCalgary Global, which is a language sharing program, as well as some of our volunteer opportunities, which we'll talk about a little bit more later.
And my name's Taegan. I am one of the student staff working with ISS. I am currently doing on and off campus with COVID, remote, so online events for the ISS. So I work a lot with both the team and with students to really have fun social events.
That's awesome. Garrett, could you give me a little bit more background information about ISS, what services it provides to campus, and how you help to support students?
Yeah, absolutely. So the International Student Services Office, you may hear us refer to it as ISS, is one of the offices that is here and dedicated to supporting our incredibly diverse international student population. We have almost 5,000 international students on our campus this last semester, which is fantastic. And our office provides a lot of different supports to those students. So one of the main supports that we provide is immigration advising. And for many international students, that might actually be the first time that you start accessing our office, or maybe the earliest thing that you'll start accessing from our office. But we also provide a lot of other support. So we do run social programming throughout the academic year. We have other programs that you can get involved in, including things like a student mentorship program. We have a language sharing program that I mentioned earlier called the UCalgary Global program. And then we also have lots of student volunteer opportunities. So if you're really looking at getting involved on campus, building your networks, and then giving back to other students and maybe even giving back to international students, our office is a really great platform to do that. And then our office is another great stop if you do need support, if you need academic support, we can connect you with academic support advisors in other offices on campus. Perhaps other episodes of the podcast have addressed this, but we have partners in the Student Success Center to help you with your academic support. We have partners in the Career Services Office to help you with your career development. And then we have relationships with faculties and units across campus. So a really great plan is if you're ever unsure where you need to go to get the support to be successful, our office is a great first stop and we can make sure that you're connected with the resources you need.
We're definitely trying to highlight many services across campus and different support centers for students with this podcast, but having international student services as sort of a home base where students can go to get the support they need, especially international students, is awesome. Taegan, as a student, how did you first get involved with international student services?
So I first studied abroad through a different office, the study abroad office through UCalgary. And then through that, I kind of got an email blast mentioning the International Student Center. And that's kind of how I found out about this position. So once you kind of find your base in whatever office, it is super easy to connect with all the different offices and really get involved with the school, the campus, and your fellow students and peers.
What would you say you've gained from your involvement with ISS?
I gained so much. The first thing that comes to my mind is I definitely got to know my campus and all the different faculties and offices way better. I really came to appreciate what the university has to offer in terms of different clubs and social programs, and really got involved with the different aspects of university beyond just academia.
Even outside of my undergraduate degree, which I'm about to finish, I have had lots of cool opportunities with different services on campus, but doing this podcast, I've got to learn about a lot more. So it's really interesting.
What's really great is that for a lot of students that do want to get involved, sometimes it can feel like maybe they don't know where to start. And so it's always really great to hear these stories and experiences of other students. And I know that I've talked to a lot of students that have ended up working in the international office. And many of them say, I never expected to find myself working here and doing this work. And now that I've been doing it, I find that I'm really passionate about it. I really love it. And so I think that's a really great piece of advice that I can give to students, is that open yourself up to some of the possibilities and get involved on campus. You never know where those might take you, and they may take you places you never thought that you could go before. So I think that's just a really great idea, is just to open yourself up to possibility.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you mentioned it before, Virginia, like a home base. Once you kind of enter one of like the offices or opportunities, you realize just how many there are. And it's quite crazy, because at first it can seem quite intimidating. But once you kind of start somewhere, you really kind of find what works for you.
Absolutely. And there are so many different opportunities on campus. Garrett, could you tell me a little bit more about what types of events International Student Services typically runs, and then also maybe some of the online things you're doing now to adapt to our current situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'll probably get Taegan to help me with this. And so maybe I'll actually take the first half of the question. I'll talk about what a normal year looks like for our office. And then maybe I'll turn it over to Taegan, and she can talk a little bit about some of the remote programming that she's been running this year. So in a normal year, in a non-COVID-19 year, our office does a lot of different and fun things throughout the semester. So usually the first and biggest thing that we do, that we see a lot of international students, especially our brand new international students, wanting to do, is that we take a big trip to Banff National Park. Usually this happens at the end of September, and we end up loading up about 2 bus loads of students and taking them to Banff National Park. You get a chance to see the parks, to experience Banff. I know that that's a really big thing for a lot of international students. They want to see Banff, they want to visit Lake Louise. So we do actually do that trip. We've had such success with that we've had to start running 2 of those in the fall semester. So there will be lots of opportunity once we can return to in-person programming to visit Banff and to visit other locations in and around Calgary and Alberta. And so we'll do lots of things like that. We'll do day trips. Another day trip that we've done that's really popular is to a place in Alberta that's called Drumheller. And Drumheller has a lot of history related to dinosaurs and archaeology. And so there's a really great museum there, and a lot of students that are interested in those types of things really enjoy that. So we'll take trips to Drumheller, we'll do Lake Louise, we'll do lots of day trips. And then throughout the semester, we'll also have lots of other social programming. So it can be a range of, mingling and meeting and sort of like socializing events that are in the International Student Services office, because we have a really great lounge space. Or it could be, we might do like games nights, we might do trivia nights, things like that. We'll also do day trips within Calgary. So we may go to some of the museums that are in the city. We may go to some of the fun venues, like there's a place called Flying Squirrel, which is a trampoline park. It's a place that just like has wall to ceiling trampolines and you can jump around. It is more tiring than you may think. And then there's lots of other things. We'll do things like, there's a place called the Rec Room where you can go and you can play arcade games, and there's a great restaurant attached. So we try to provide opportunities for international students to experience Calgary and the local area, as well as meet other students on campus. So Taegan, why don't you share some of the things that you've done this semester remotely?
Yeah, for sure. So when I stepped into this role, COVID kind of broke out, so everything was shifted to online. So all the events I've run so far have all been online, which have gone really well and have been super exciting, even though it was kind of definitely a new shift for me. So some of the events we usually run normally, like without COVID, and what I've kind of kept up throughout this remote learning thing, is the Global Cafe, which is a monthly event that the ISS holds, focusing on introducing students to new cultures, experiencing different aspects of those cultures. We had like a Diwali themed event, which was held in collaboration with the Indian Student Association, a club at UCalgary. And we just learned about parts of different aspects of Indian culture. So those are super fun and all accessed online, which has gone really well. We've also done some more social events that are more relaxed and give students the chance to meet each other. I've had so much fun with those. I just held one yesterday, having like winter crafts, and it's just a really a nice time to relax, especially with everything being online, it can kind of seem quite isolating. So our online events have definitely allowed students to really get to know each other and make friends and kind of escape that isolating realm of online learning.
Yeah, in my co-op role with the student recruitment team, a lot of questions we see from students are wondering about meeting other students and the ways to connect with other people, especially international students who are so far away from home. So international student services definitely sounds like it has a ton of awesome ways to socialize and to make friends, even in this weird time when everything is on.
From my previous study abroad experience and working with the ISS, and like, because I participate also in these events, I can honestly tell you that you make and form such special relationships with fellow international students. So, like, honestly, my heart is like with half of the people I've met, because it's just we form such special bonds, because you just have so much in common, but so many differences that you can share. It's really quite fun. That's another part. That's my number one favorite. That and the community of ISS. Those are my two favorites.
That's awesome. I know you mentioned, Garrett, that your office offers immigration advising. Are there other types of advising that you also offer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with the immigration advising, I'll maybe start with that really quickly. As I sort of said before, it's likely that for a lot of new international students, the first questions you'll have for us will be immigration related, because once you've accepted your offer at the University of Calgary, you're then eligible to receive our support. So a lot of your early questions, once you've accepted your offer, are probably about, applying for your study permit or making sure that you have your travel documents in place. And so we can support you during those processes and answering questions about Canadian immigration. Now, the other main type of advising that we do provide is likely around questions that you'll have a bit closer to your arrival and likely when you first arrive on campus. So we're able to provide what we call transitional advising and transitional support. And so that's related to any sort of day-to-day sort of questions. If you have questions about things like Canadian healthcare, how to access Canadian healthcare and that system, how that works, we can help you with those things. If you have questions related to like Canadian identification or getting things like a Canadian driver's license or pieces of documentation like that, we can help you with things like that. And then anything related to your settlement. So we know that many first-year students likely will be living at least their first year in residence. However, if you are not living in residence, we can provide you with some resources to help you in your search for finding accommodations when you move to Calgary, whether that's renting an apartment or a house. So we can provide you with some resources in that way. We can provide you with information and resources related to things like banking in Canada, with things like getting a cell phone and setting up a cell phone in Canada, which companies may be the ones that you could go with in Canada. So just any of those sort of day-to-day adjustment questions that you may have, we're happy to help with that. And then the other thing too is that we also recognize that that you are moving to a new country, a country that has a culture that is maybe unfamiliar to you, maybe very different than what you're used to. And so you may have questions about what we would do in Canada and what maybe is different from your experiences in your home country. We're always happy to have conversations with international students about what it is like to live in Canada, to live in Calgary, because we know and we understand that it can be really challenging to live in a new country. And we want to be here to support students as they're making those adjustments and as they're learning what it's like to live in sort of a new cultural sphere. So any of those types of questions, we're always happy to help students with. We run a lot of programming as well that's related to those topics. So we run international student orientation, and then we'll also run sessions on a lot of the topics I just mentioned, like healthcare, like funding, like cell phones, in the lead up to orientation, and then well into usually the first and second month of the semester. So you'll have lots of opportunity to participate in workshops about this information, but we can also do one-on-one advising on a lot of those topics.
Awesome. That's definitely a lot of things to cover. So it's really nice to have all those workshops and all that advice coming from one office to really give students a place where they know they can feel comfortable and get this information from. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Choose UCalgary, to learn about admissions, explore different programs available at UCalgary, virtually tour campus, and check out recordings of webinars we offer, like Becoming a Dinos Athlete. One really cool way I think that International Student Services is helping students with the transition, like you mentioned, is with the International Student Stories series. Could you give a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, so that's a brand new series that we just started this year. I think that's, while COVID-19 has been really challenging for all of us to adjust to, out of it has come some opportunities for us to think differently about how we can better connect with students. And so one of the ideas that one of my colleagues came up with was, what are ways in which we can share that international student experience and those stories of living and learning in Calgary and at the University of Calgary with our new international students. So our International Student Stories podcast is a new podcast where we've invited on current international students. We've had an undergraduate student and a graduate student so far, and they've just talked about their experiences adjusting to life in Calgary. What were some of the challenges that they encountered? What were some of the successes that they celebrated? But just an opportunity to share and hear from other students about what it is like to live and learn in a different country. So it's a series that we're continuing into the new year. We'll have new episodes in early 2021, but all of that information is on our website, and that's where you're able to access those recordings and listen to those student stories.
Even as a student from Alberta, I checked out that podcast, and it's really cool to hear about the experiences of students. Yeah, even not as an international student, but I would imagine definitely very helpful for students who are actually going to make the transition themselves. I was wondering if, other than ISS, Taegan, you could tell me a little bit about what other services you found most helpful on campus during your undergraduate degree.
There's so many. I definitely found that my faculty, so I'm a political science undergraduate student, my faculty itself offered a bunch of really more personalized, per se, academic support, as well as I find that people in the arts kind of tend to think the same. So that's definitely really helpful. And a few of my friends that are in engineering, they definitely find that their faculty has lots of more different academic support, as well as mental health support and different aspects that is more fitting to how they kind of work in their studies. Getting involved with the ISS kind of introduced me to all the other offices. So the Leadership and Student Engagement Office has some really, really fun social events, and they also collaborate with a lot of UCalgary clubs. So I definitely kind of reached out to those. I joined a few clubs this year. We have a K-pop club and an origami club and a bunch of different really fun clubs that definitely help add to your more social experience at the university. And we have some, if this was in person or in normal times, even the buildings themselves, the library has some really amazing research options, and the staff there is just amazing and super welcoming. So I've kind of pre-COVID lived at the library partially for my degree. And it's just a beautiful place. The university itself is really beautiful. And there are so many different services. We also have Wellness Center, which is really great, and a bunch of different more support for mental health and just kind of helping create a healthy study and life balance, which is really quite helpful. So there's a bunch.
It wasn't too long ago that I was also a student at the University of Calgary. So I did both my undergraduate and my master's degree at the University of Calgary. And so I've been there for a long time. And what I would say to new students is there's one office that even myself as a student, I didn't set foot into until the very end of my degree. And I really should have gone to them earlier. And that office was Career Services. Now, I think that students come to university because I think the end goal for most students is likely that you want to find a career that is meaningful to you. And so it's never too early to start thinking about how you can set yourself up to be successful once you graduate and once you start looking for a career. So I really recommend students to think early on in your degree about going to see career services, because they can help you with lots of great things. And especially for international students, career services is a great resource because many international students likely want to stay in Canada after they've graduated. And so career services can help international students writing Canadian resumes and cover letters. They can help international students prepare for Canadian interviews. There's a lot of really great resources and supports that they provide in career services that can help international students learn more about the Canadian workplace and learn more about Canadian workplace norms. And we do actually have a dedicated career advisor for international students in that office. So I would recommend to new students, it's never too early to start thinking about your career. It's never too early to start planning and embedding those kinds of activities within your degree. And even students like Taegan, Taegan is getting work experience while she's working on her degree. And so what are the ways in which you can get involved on campus, working in offices like International Student Services or like other offices that have student employment opportunities, and prepare yourself to get some of that Canadian work experience so that when you graduate, it gives you some advantages when you're looking for that career. So there's lots of ways to get involved, but I think career services is a great stop that a lot of students forget early on in their degree.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great resource. And there are so many opportunities for students to work on campus. I was answering student questions the other day and saying almost every faculty and every service on campus tries to hire students. So there's so many opportunities if you're looking for part-time work or even a full-time co-op role or something like that on campus.
Yeah, there's a lot of student opportunities, and Taegan is actually just one of a team of student program assistants that we hire, and we hire those positions every year. So that's a really great working opportunity for students to get some part-time work during their degree on campus. And I think the best part of it is that it's an opportunity for you to directly influence and support international students, influence the student experience, and support those international students, your colleagues and your peers and your classmates, helping them ensure that they have a positive experience on campus. So we always say our philosophy in International Student Services is that, especially for supporting students, sometimes the best supports are peer supports. And so we want to create opportunities for students, all of our students, to be able to give back and help each other and build community. And if ISS can sort of facilitate that, then that's really great for us, and that's great for the students. So if that's just something that you're interested in, keep an eye out on a lot of our communications, because we do post those job opportunities usually close to the end of the winter semester in preparation for the upcoming fall.
Yeah, that's a great way to give back and to help other students. For my final question, this is pretty broad, but I was hoping that both of you could just give some general advice for new students coming to the University of Calgary.
So what I would say is that for a lot of international students, your main reason for coming here is likely related to academic success. You want to be successful in your program, you want to have strong grades, you want to finish your degree, and you may even be looking for work in Canada. And those things are all really, really, really important. What I want you to think about, as well as academic success, is how can you approach your wellness and your success more holistically? And what I mean by that is, what can you do to make sure that you feel socially connected, that you're able to build meaningful friendships and relationships on campus with other students? I want you to think about social programming. For some students, they may think that social programming is a distraction or a luxury, but sometimes when things get really stressful and when things get really busy, one of the best things that you can do to take care of yourself is to reach out to your community and build connections. So I really encourage international students to take advantage of the various social programs that are run across campus. Get involved, but also recognize your capacity. Don't overcommit. I usually say to international students, there's one thing that we do at the start of every semester, which is called Clubs Week, which is a great event. It's a week-long event, and we have all of the different University of Calgary student clubs, and they'll exhibit at a booth, and it's really, really fun. And there's like, I think somewhat over like 300 different clubs. It's a huge number. And I've talked to a lot of international students that have gone to Clubs Week, and they're like, I signed up for like 10 clubs. And I think that's really great. But also know that it's okay to only maybe sign up for 1 or 2 that you're really passionate about. Or maybe sign up for 10 and then make a decision after you've gone to the first meeting about 1 or 2 that you're going to commit to. So it's good to sign up. It's good to get involved, be aware of your capacity, but make sure that you're also prioritizing building those relationships. And finding those opportunities to connect with others. And if you're ever struggling with that, if you're ever unsure of where to go or who to talk to or how to get involved or where to start, those are all really good questions. And a great place to go is to come to International Student Services. You can talk to me, you can talk to one of our other advisors, you can talk to one of our student staff, you can talk to any of our student volunteers. We're all happy to help connect you with the resources and the supports that you need to be successful. So that's what I would recommend. Open yourself up. It's what I said earlier, open yourself up to all of those different possibilities. You never know where they'll take to you. You'll never know what connections they may lead to, but just open yourself up.
When you first asked that question, Virginia, I was just going to say the cliche, oh, get involved. But as a student, I know it's not always as easy as it sounds. You know, it can be quite intimidating, and like, I'm generally a more reserved person. So I was like, I don't want to stick my arm out there too much. But honestly, the university and the ISS, in my experience, is such a community. Like, once you kind of get involved, and like Garrett was saying, you could even start with academics, but be open to all the other opportunities and see that it's not just I'm there solely and only to study. Because once you kind of open yourself up to the different social aspects, you can really figure out, like, I kind of got this job even through like more of the social aspects. So that really advanced my career. And that's how I even found career services. That's how I found all these different offices that I honestly only knew for the title. I didn't know what they really offered. There is such a community at UCalgary, and the people at the ISS, I can personally say, are so lovely. And if you ever want to reach out to me or Garrett or any of the other staff, I would love to talk to anybody, because the university and the community it offers is just, it has earned such a place in my heart that I would just love to share it. And like, I'm 99.9% sure Garrett would love to show you it too. So just look and be open to getting involved. And if you need help getting involved, come to the ISS. We are super helpful, and just be open to the endless opportunities.
Yeah, that was a really great response, Taegan. Thank you for sharing that. I think the other thing I maybe just would add is that it's also okay to need help or to not know what to do next. I know that for many students, you may feel really pressured to always have the answer or always know what you need to do. And I want you to know that sometimes that's really hard. And sometimes we don't have the answers and we do need help. And so I want new students to know that it is okay to ask us for help, and that we will connect you with the supports that you need in order to be successful. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're weak. There's nothing wrong with needing help. It's okay to ask for help. And so we really encourage students, whenever you need support, come to our office. We will connect you. We will make sure that you are successful, that you get the help that you need in order to be successful at the university. So that's just what I would say. Don't be hesitant to come and talk to us, to reach out and to let us know what you need in order to be successful.
That's really great advice from both of you. And as I've spoken to more and more people on this podcast, kind of the overarching theme that I hear is that there is such an amazing and supportive community here on campus. So definitely very proud to get to represent the University of Calgary and share the experiences from everyone. So thank you both of you so much for joining me today and for speaking about international student services.
Thank you so much for inviting us. This was great. To new students or students that are considering University of Calgary, we hope that you accept your offer of admission to the university. If you do, it would be so exciting to meet you in the fall. I hope that you come say hello to me, to Taegan, to the rest of the International Student Services team. We are here to support you, and we really look forward to meeting you in the fall or in the winter or whenever it is in the future that you may join us.
So for anyone looking for more information, I will include the links to the International Student Services website in the episode description so you can find more information there. Thanks for listening and have a great day.